I'm Joe Reed, and this is Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. I'm speaking with contributor Alan Minskoff. He's with me for the whole week. Hey, Alan, how are you?
I'm good, and we are changing direction dramatically today.
And tell us where we're going.
We are going to Detroit.
Oh.
We are going to talk about the audiobook, The Containment, Detroit, the Supreme Court, and the Battle for Racial Justice in the North. It's written by law professor Michelle Adams, and it's read by Janina Edwards. And I believe, and I think you agree with me, Janina Edwards is a real talent.
Yeah, I agree.
She can do fictional characters. She can do nonfiction. She just has a nice way of narrating. She's a good storyteller.
Yeah, I completely agree. She's won an Audio Award for the final revival of Opal and Nev. And recently, I think we talked about her. She was an Earphones winner for Dream Count.
Yes, she is very talented. And this is, of course, a very serious book. Now, of course, after 44 hours with Mark Twain, this is 16 hours, but it is a serious look at, frankly, why busing and integration didn't work in the city of Detroit. It was a big case that she goes through in some detail, and yet it's fascinating. I was very fascinated by this story because she's a good writer about people. And one of the most interesting was the judge, Stephen J. Roth, who was an immigrant to the United States, became a lawyer, and then a federal judge. And he was the one who ruled on this case locally. The case is called Milliken v. Bradley. And Roth is an important person in this. The case was brought to him by both the NAACP and some locals. What's fascinating is how his opinion of this case and of integration evolved. And of course, the sad fact is that it went to the Supreme Court and was reversed. But not without his first having this evolution. And there's a lot of detail on what might have happened had this gone through in Detroit schools, because really, tragically, African-American people in Detroit did not get nearly as good an education as people did in the suburbs.
Well, even today, currently, the number of white students in Detroit's public schools, it's like 2%.
I think you're right. And it's one of the reasons why Professor Adams wrote this. She is from the Detroit area, but she actually went to a private school herself. I think she went to Brown, and she was extraordinarily well educated. And she became a lawyer like her father, who was a lawyer before her. And she decided to dedicate a lot of years. This was a very assiduously researched study. And yet, is a lot of stories she does. She uses a lot of the papers at the time, the Detroit Free Press and others. And she really understands, because she's a law professor and a lawyer, she really understands how the case came to be. And that's what the story is. The story of a law case that, while it didn't succeed at the Supreme Court level, it did cause a tremendous commotion and a lot of soul searching in the city of Detroit.
And let's talk about Janina Edwards' narration of this. It is a very detailed, if compelling, book. And how did she bring it home as a narrator?
Let me say this. What impressed me the most is that she's a vivid narrator, because there are a lot of stories in this. There's stories of what happened to the students. There's stories of the plans. There's stories of what might have happened, and stories of what happened in other parts of the country. And she has a vivid style, her narration. And you get the sense that this is really an important story that's being told. She does a really good job with the sort of mini biographies of Judge Roth and others.
Well, she's equally at ease with fiction and nonfiction as a narrator. So why don't we hear a little bit of The Containment now? Do you have to set this up for us at all?
Not really, because this is sort of the essence of what happened.
All right. This is The Containment, Detroit, the Supreme Court, and the Battle for Racial Justice in the North. It's by Michelle Adams, read by Janina Edwards.
The case was titled Bradley v. Milliken. The plaintiffs in the case were the Detroit branch of the NAACP and a group of Detroit families, parents, and their children who attended Detroit public schools. The complaint listed the individual plaintiffs' names alphabetically: Ronald and Richard Bradley, and their mother, Verda, sometimes spelled Virda, were listed first. The case was filed as a class action. Later, the court would rule that the plaintiff class included all school children of the city of Detroit and all Detroit resident parents who have children of school age. Milliken referred to William Milliken, the state governor.
And it's such a lucid narration. It's great pacing. And I just plain like her voice.
I do too.
I really want her to keep talking.
We did that novel that she did and that she was part of, and she's just stayed with me. And I've heard a couple of other of her audiobooks, and you know, there are just some narrators who bring the story to you and let it tell itself. And lucid is a perfect word for the way that she narrates.
Yeah, and I think Janina Edwards is one of them. I really like her work.
I couldn't agree more.
So we were talking about The Containment, Detroit, the Supreme Court, and the Battle for Racial Justice in the North, written by Michelle Adams, read by Janina Edwards. Okay, thank you so much, Alan. We shall speak tomorrow.
And I look forward to it.
Today's episode is sponsored by Night Watcher, a twisty new audiobook performed by Will Collier and Helen Laser, plus a special note read by author Daphne Woolsencroft.
Don't forget to stop by audiofilemagazine.com, where you can find hundreds of reviews, as well as interviews and articles about authors and narrators, and videos of some of your favorite narrators discussing the books they perform. It's all at audiofilemagazine.com. I'm Jo Reed. I'll talk to you tomorrow.